The planet Earth looks like a creepy place for living. You can hear many spooky stories about different places, people, cases, etc. People like and don't like it when they hear or read this sort of story at the same time. It scares them, but it also fascinates them when something is mysterious and strange. By the way, Mysterious Heartland is a collector of strange cases and unexplained things. It is a perfect place for fans of supernatural and crime stories. Anyway, we think that each state in the world has at least one well-known creepy place. Yet, some of them were too attractive to people from all over the globe and became popular worldwide. Some of them were even the subject of many horror movies. Let's find them out together. Bran Castle, Romania. The story of the castle and Dracula was that Dracula was buried within the castle and his body lies somewhere under the castle walls. Vlad Dracula was possibly born on June 17, 1431. The term Dracula translates to son of Dracal. Do you know about Bran Castle, a major tourist destination, and its famous association with vampires? If not, then you're in for a treat. This castle is steeped in history and has been associated with the legend of Dracula since the early 1900s. It is now a major destination for people interested in vampire folklore. So, if you're looking to learn more about one of the most famous castles in the world, keep reading. Bran Castle is located in Transylvania, Romania. It was built between 1211 and 1225 by Teutonic Knights as a fortress against Turkic invasions into Europe. In 1378 the castle fell into Hungarian hands and remained in their possession until 1408 when it was returned to the Saxons of Kronstadt, now Brașov. In 1212 Teutonic Order constructed the wooden castle of Dietrichstein to create a fortified position at the entry to a mountain pass in Begenland. King Louis I of Hungary issued an act in 1377 that was the first recorded mention of Bran Castle that gave the Saxons of Kronstadt the allowance to construct the stone castle on their labor force and expense. Romania's last queen consort, Queen Marie, was fond of the Bran Castle royal residence. The town of Brașov gave the castle to Queen Marie in 1920. Hanging coffins of Sagada, Philippines. The people of Sagada follow a unique burial ritual. The elderly carve their own coffins out of hollowed logs. If they are too weak or ill, their families prepare their coffins instead. The dead are placed inside their coffins, sometimes breaking their bones in the process of fitting them in, and the coffins are brought to a cave for burial. Instead of being placed into the ground, the coffins are hung either inside the caves or on the face of the cliffs, near the hanging coffins of their ancestors. The Sagada people have been practicing such burials for over 2,000 years, and some of the coffins are well over a century old. Eventually, the coffins deteriorate and fall from their precarious positions. The reason the coffins were hung was due to the belief that the higher the dead were placed, the greater chance of their spirits reaching a higher nature in the afterlife. Many of the locations of the coffins are difficult to reach, and obviously should be left alone out of respect, but can be appreciated from afar. Do not touch or walk under the coffins. Bring binoculars or a telephoto camera to view these remarkable coffins from a respectful distance. From Manila, by bus or private car, travel north to Mountain Province. For commuters, you can find buses in Cubao headed directly to Sagada. The alternative is to hop on a bus headed to either Banao or Baguio and then transfer to respective public rides bound to Sagada. During summer, it will take you about 12 to 13 hours to reach Sagada. During the rainy season, not only is travel time longer, but the roads also become very dangerous, and sometimes closed due to landslides. Village of Nagoro, Japan. Nagoro, a remote village in Tokushima Prefecture on Shikoku Island dune of the four main islands of Japanoworld, have remained an anonymous dot on the map if it was not for Ayano Tsukimi, a skilled doll maker. Sad that her once vibrant residential area was losing its charm, she has been making life-size dolls to populate her village where the number of residents has been dwindling over the years. Although there have been mentions of other Japanese villages where artists have similarly created scarecrows or dolls to make them livelier, it is Nagoro that has caught the traveler's fancy. According to various interviews Ayano gave to the media over the past few years, she returned to Nagoro, the village of her birth, from Osaka, to look after her ailing father after her mother passed away. It was at this time, around 2002, that she made a scarecrow and put it in her garden to drive away the birds eating all the seeds. She dressed it in her father's old clothes. In an interview to AFP, she said she found it funny when a worker said a hello to the scarecrow without realizing that it was not her father. The germ of the idea was thus planted. Gradually realizing that the population in her village was dwindling fast, elders passing away, schools and stores shutting down, young people moving to bigger places for better opportunity, Asash decided to recreate the good times with dolls representing life in her village. Aokigahara, Japan. These are the warning words you'll get to read outside the entrance of the Aokigahara forest in Japan, also known as the suicide forest globally. So, ever heard of Aokigahara Forest of Japan? If not, then let me tell you that this beautiful-looking green forest is not meant for your leisurely morning walks, but rather holds an ill-fated reputation of being the world's second most popular place to commit suicide. First is the Golden Gate Bridge. I wish it was a joke, but this is the utter truth behind this gorgeous yet eerie-looking forest in Japan, which is less than 2 hours away from Tokyo, the bustling capital city of the country. The Aokigahara Forest or Suicide Forest is located northwest of the mighty Mount Fuji. Spread across a huge area of about 35 square kilometers, the forest of Aokigahara is so thick with foliage that it is also called the Sea of Trees. Getting lost here is quite easy, but coming out is nearly impossible because of the denseness of the forest. The forest holds a reputation of being home to Yurei, which according to Japanese mythology means ghosts of the dead. As per official records, around 105 bodies were discovered from the forest back in the year 2003, and most of them were severely decomposed or eaten by wild animals. Most of the Japanese spiritualists are of the belief that these suicides have permeated Aokigahara's trees, which in return has given birth to paranormal activities. Secondly, all the modern technologies and devices such as compasses and mobile phones fail here due to rich deposits of magnetic ions created by volcanic soil in the region. Compasses behave weirdly and show wrong directions, while mobile phones don't receive signals. So now you know why coming out of the forest is nearly impossible. Centralia, United States. Located in a quiet valley of Columbia County, Pennsylvania, is one of the state's least likely and least publicized tourist attractions, Centralia. What draws people to this out-of-the-way town isn't the amazing culture or the fascinating historical sites. Instead, it's the lack of things to see. You see, Centralia is a modern ghost town in PA. So, what's the history of the town and what is there to do when visiting Centralia, Pennsylvania? Keep reading to find out. In the early 60s, the borough of Centralia was just like any number of coal region towns in Pennsylvania. The community of roughly 1,500 was supported by the seam of coal that ran beneath the town. However, in 1962, a fire was lit in the town dump that spread beneath the entire valley and threatened the community's existence. The full extent of the problem wasn't known until 1979 when a gas station owner in Centralia measured the temperature of the gas in his underground containers to be more than 100 degrees above normal. The situation escalated further when a 150-foot deep sinkhole opened beneath a 12-year-old boy. Island of the Dolls, Mexico. The story of La Isla de las Muñecas, the Island of the Dolls, is intimately entwined with the story of Don Julian Santana Barrera. A native of Xochimilco, a borough of Mexico City, Don Julian left his wife and family sometime in the mid-20th century to sequester himself on an island on Texuelo Lake. His reasons for doing so are hazy at best, but as soon became clear, Santana Barrera was not necessarily of sound mind. Not long after relocating, he made a chilling discovery on the shores of his island, the body of a young girl drowned in the lake. A doll came floating down the canals shortly afterward, changing the course of Santana Barrera's life and the shape of the island for years to come. Alone on the island, Barrera took the doll and hung it from a tree in order to appease the spirit of the deceased girl. But, at least in the eyes of the man who now considered himself the island's caretaker, the one doll was not enough. The next 50 years, Santana Barrera would scrounge dolls from the trash and from the canals, and hang them from the island's many trees. For the next 50 years, Santana Barrera would scrounge dolls from the trash and from the canals, and hang them from the island's many trees.